G'day, it's Graham here, and today I want to tackle a really tough issue that's becoming an increasing problem in today's modern, well-informed society. See, a lot of people are improving their communication skills and studying assertiveness and conflict resolution. And what's happening is, as a result of this, people's ability to communicate and speak from the heart is leading to a problem where the ability to have one of those just really nasty, just horrific, just vicious arguments with your partner is becoming something of a lost art. And so I'm here to help. And so today what I want to talk about is how to have an argument. Now, I have a lot of great tips of this that I've studied from my parents, who are complete aficionadios at this lost art. And so today I'm going to pass on some of the wisdom that I got from them so that you can have one of those arguments where you really just tear into your partner and completely annihilate their self-esteem. And because obviously if your partner's self-esteem were to improve and to grow, there's a real risk that they wouldn't want to be going out with somebody like you. So in order to keep them in their place, here's what you do. Now, the first step to having a really effective destructive argument is to adopt a self-righteous position. Remember, the point of the argument is not to resolve conflict, it's not to address a particular issue, and it's not to build communication or an understanding or empathy between you. What it is basically, the point of the argument is to entrench your position as the person that's right and their position as the person that's wrong. And everything that you say needs to come from this frame of reference. You're right, they're wrong, they just don't get it, they're a complete idiot, and what you need to do is just reinforce this and completely nail it down so that they understand the position that they're coming from, which is that they're just wrong, and they're a loser, and an idiot. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be going out with you, right? So what you need to do is remember it's not just about this argument, it's also about all future arguments. So you really want to hammer home this point that you're the one that's right and they're the one that's wrong. Have I got that point across to you yet, or do you need more? Okay, I think you're starting to understand now where it is that I'm coming from. So the second point that you need to remember is to use you statements. Always talk about the other person. You idiot, you're wrong, you don't understand, you're not listening, you're stupid. Anything that starts with you is often good fodder for a really destructive argument. You obviously want to avoid I statements. Speaking from your own heart, revealing anything about how you feel is very important. You need to talk about the other person and just absolutely annihilate them and talk about how bad they are and how stupid they are, how wrong they are. And this is going to go a long way towards maintaining this argument that you want to have. And in order to do this effectively, this is step 3. What you need to do is assume malicious intent on the part of the person that you're arguing with, your partner. So always assume that they're not interested in resolving the argument either. What they want to do is try and annihilate you. And what you have to do in order to stop them doing that is to launch a counter-strike where you annihilate them first. Always assuming that they've got the wrong intent, they've got a bad intent, they're trying to hurt you. They don't really want to connect with you. They don't really love you. Obviously, they've done very hurtful things to you deliberately because they're a bad, evil, nasty person. Now, step 1, adopting self-righteous position will help you to maintain this frame of reference that they are the bad, evil, nasty person. You're good, they're bad, it's black and white, it's like this kind of a religious inspired kind of argument, they've broken the rules in some way, and clearly their intent behind that has been malicious and nasty. Now step 4 is what you want to do also. During the argument, there are going to be times obviously where it may become apparent that your step 1, your self-righteous position is being undermined. There's always a possibility that voice in the back of your head of self-doubt is going to creep in and start telling you maybe they've got a point, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I haven't got it right. Don't ever listen to any of those things. Instead, adopt step number 4, which is to change topic as quickly as possible and just jump from topic to topic to ensure that the person that you're arguing with can never keep up and can never win. Anytime it looks as though maybe they've got a point, what you want to do is simply change topic so that their point is no longer valid and they'll look like an idiot. Because obviously what they're saying about the old topic is not relevant to the new topic, and so therefore you pretty much got them cornered. And yeah, you can use this technique multiple times over the course of an argument. Obviously, if you're applying the rest of these techniques, the argument that you're having can stretch out for not just minutes, but hours, days, months, weeks, even years. And over that course of time, clearly, just to maintain momentum in the argument, you're going to need to be able to change topics quite rapidly so that you don't run out of material. There's no point just going over the same old stuff, except when you wanted to entrench point number 1, the self-righteous position, and point number 3, the malicious intent. Obviously, what you can do is use material from any previous argument in your current argument. And that's the next step that I want to talk about. Step number 5 is that you want to collect material in the current argument that you can use in any argument in the future. And also feel free to use any material from previous arguments in the current argument. Now remember that your intent here is not ever to resolve any issue or actually get anything sorted out. So what that means is that any old material from old arguments is still completely valid in this one because you never actually resolved the thing you were arguing about. In fact, you kept changing topics all the time, specifically to avoid doing that. So what this means is that during the course of the argument, you want to avoid actually listening to what's going on for the other person because that's going to undermine your self-righteous position. But what you do want to listen for is any kind of vulnerability that they're exposing so that you can pick up flaws and faults in the other person that you can use both in the current argument and also in any future argument. Which brings me to point number 6, which is that you need to make sure that you never expose any kind of vulnerability on your own part, because obviously your partner could use that against you in a future argument. And more importantly, exposing vulnerability on your part could allow your partner to actually empathize with where you're coming from, which might mean that you'd end up having a heartfelt connection, in which case you're not going to want to annihilate them and they're not going to want to annihilate you. You're actually going to want to resolve the issue and get to some kind of conclusion. Now, clearly this is going to undermine your ability to have future pointless arguments where you just assassinate each other. So, very important that you don't expose any feelings directly. For instance, if you're very angry with the other person, never say, look, I'm just really angry with you. You never want to ask for time out until you can calm down and discuss the thing rationally later. If you're feeling sad and hurt by the other person, you definitely don't want to tell them that you're feeling sad and hurt, because that's going to expose a weakness, which then they can just put the knife into. Conversely, if your partner reveals any kind of sadness or hurt, then that's your time, obviously, to launch that preemptive strike. Just go for the jugular, tear them to pieces for being too sensitive or having too many feelings, or being an idiot because they have emotions. Any of these kind of attacks are a great way to reinforce defensiveness in your partner, which will simply allow you to continue arguing with them for months and months and years into the future. Okay, so they're the basic points. Adopt a position of self-righteousness. Always use a lot of you statements. Assume a malicious intent on your partner's part. Collect material for next time. Change subjects as much as possible. Avoid exposing any kind of vulnerability. And all these great tips for having a really destructive argument where you can really just get a lot of anger out there and freaking rip into people. Now, as far as resources go, there are a lot of resources that I recommend you avoid because they're simply going to undermine your ability to do any of this kind of stuff. So the first one here we've got is Why Don't People Listen by Hugh Mackay, which will explain solving the communication problem. And you definitely need to avoid this book because it will explain to you why it is that people don't seem to understand each other. And essentially it all comes down to the fact that we're all filtering everything that we hear through a filter, a glasses, a cage, whatever analogy you want to use, which means that we don't actually hear what the message someone else is sending to us because it's going through our filter. And this is why it's possible to assume malicious intent from somebody who really loves you and actually has your best interests at heart. And so if you read this book, it's going to undermine your ability to assume malicious intent, and therefore definitely don't recommend that you read that one. The second one I don't recommend you read is Nonviolent Communication by Rosenberg. This book will destroy your ability to have a nasty, vindictive argument with a partner and leave you with a heartfelt, loving relationship where you actually communicate on the basis of empathy and needs. Once you've learned to identify the needs in your partner and also in yourself, you will find that it's actually possible to meet those needs or find other people that will meet those needs. And that will mean that you're a happier person and you'll have less need to actually get into vindictive arguments in the first place. This book will also teach you about empathy, which is a terrible thing to have if you want to just be able to rip somebody else to shreds, because once you start actually feeling what they're feeling, you're going to notice just how much it hurts when you start putting that knife into the jugular. So definitely do not recommend you read this book. That'll just like wreck your ability to communicate in a destructive manner altogether. And there's plenty of other resources out there I don't recommend, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, any of that kind of stuff. I mean, it might be pop psychology, but geez, it's got a good point. And, it's really just, I don't know, any of that stuff is going to facilitate understanding, which is not what you want if you want to be able to tear your partner to pieces. Again, because once you empathize with them, you're going to understand how much that hurts them and everyone else around you. So don't do it. Okay, I hope you've got some great tips out of this, and I hope you've had some fun. Next time, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about because I have absolutely no clue. Just work this out each day. So if you've got a question that you want to ask me, some bit of advice that you think will kind of wreck your life too, then just send it to me, ask@grahamsturdy.com, and I'll catch up with you next time. Did I talk too fast? I think I was talking way too fast. I always seem to talk just way too fast.